This is a review of the Artisan Raiden Mid. Generally, it's an extremely good pad. Probably one of the best fast pads I've ever used. It's not as fast as people will lead you to believe. It's not anywhere near a hard pad. It's not even remotely on the same plane. Because at the end of the day, it's a fucking cloth pad. It feels like one to use. It feels like an extremely good cloth pad. It's still a cloth pad. There are a couple of small annoyances I have with this pad, namely the stitching. Yes, the stitching is physically below the pad. It's incredible to play with. I've noticed that there's a tiny bit of fraying along parts of the stitching when I've been washing it. Like specifically in this corner, I can't really show it to my camera because it's a really bad camera, but there is a tiny bit of fraying and it's a little bit worrying. And this pad does not lie flat, from my experience. Granted, well, I did get one that was flat shipped, and it's still, no matter that, is not a pad that lies flat. It's so odd. I've washed it multiple times. I've tried using a hairdryer to make it lie flat, and that has not worked. So, despite those two flaws, it's still an incredible pad to use. In terms of speed, it's definitely below something like a Glorious Helios or any plastic hard pad, but it's, I would say, significantly above something like the MP510 or something. And it's, the closest comparison is the Glide 19, which is a tiny bit faster, but it generally feels much lower quality, and the Glide 19 is significantly affected by humidity, which this isn't. So overall, this is I'd say a pretty strong pad. I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of, not a 7.5. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, it's probably... This isn't my favorite pad I've ever used in terms of its peaks, but it doesn't get affected by anything, which is the main reason why I use it, because it's insanely consistent. Granted, there are many pads that are a lot faster, so it's not necessarily the number one pad for people who are needing, something insanely fast. It's not a Sky pad, it's not an Akari, it's not a Helios, it's not even a Glorious Ice, but it's nonetheless an extremely high quality pad that I would recommend for anyone who prefers something faster. And here's some gameplay of me using the Artisan Raiden in Kovacs. So, as you can see, my micro adjustments aren't insanely fast. They're a little bit slower than they would be on a hard pad, but they're still they're not bad. And this pad is extremely consistent, meaning I can literally play with this thing for 6 hours at a time, not have it feel any different from when I started playing, which I love. And for someone who plays as much as I do, it's essential. So, overall, this is an extremely solid pad and something I would definitely recommend for people who prefer speed.